This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast Live. As always, I am the Monster Truck Canucker, Brad Shaw, and with me is it was his birthday yesterday, 33 years young, Mr. Dan Chichagash. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, enjoying today. My birthday, yes. I was 33, so no matter what, if you're not dyslexic or dyslexic, hey, I'm 33 no matter what. So, it was a good birthday. Spent some time with, I was at work. We got some stuff ready to go. But the cool thing is the Hall Brothers family and them, they hung out. So this weekend, I have my new apartment, having them all come over this weekend. We're going to, they haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari. If anyone hasn't seen that movie, please try to see that movie. A+ good movie, but we're going to watch that, play some Cards Against Humanity, and maybe bust out the old N64 and play some Mario Kart. I prefer that better than the Switch, but, the newer kids, they probably won't like it. Well, heck, they'll probably be rioting anyway, so it doesn't make the difference. So give me a Switch if any of you kids want to do whatever you want to do, and I'll tell you where I'm at. Just give me a Switch, and I won't recognize or call you out or say, you're the idiot that did it, but, hey, you're helping me out. So overall, I'm doing pretty well. Excited about the next couple weeks. We are got some big names for you guys.
Yep.
Also, want to give a shout out to High Octane Coffee, June 29th on Fly TV. So it's
Fight.tv.
.tv. FITE.tv. Joe's gonna have his High Octane Coffee Outlaw Drag Racing on pay-per-view. So we're going to have links for you to click on. It's $20 a ticket, I think, to watch some monster trucks. We all need it. We all miss it. Supercross is starting up. NASCAR's been going. In August, you'll get NHRA back.
Yep.
Dirt track racing's been going on. So we'll get our kick in. And for you fans, we can't wait for that. So please take a look at the link. Brad will also be getting videos up and running.
Yep.
For you, the fans, to do that. So,
Well,
also thank you for all the people, J Concepts, JB Scale Graphics, 6B Apparel for the awesome crew shirts that we're getting. Also, Back Channel Productions. He's about to start off with the four-wheel drive Jamborees. That's some pretty cool stuff. And also, he's been representing our Kick It Old School process. We're gonna maybe experiment, and we may be doing a live episode with a person, one of our drivers that's been there and done that. So it's been exciting, and less information talk, and let's get back to the program, right, Brad?
Yep. Well, we're going to play a little intro video for our guest. Grab yourself a cold one. I'm trying a new beer today, Granville Island Watermelon Lager. Grab yourself a cold one. Sit back, relax, and we're going to play a little video here and bring in our guest. So give us 1 second here, guys. And 3, 2, 1. And with that awesome video, we'd like to welcome to Crush This Live, Mr. Chad Fortune. Welcome to Crush This Live, Chad. How's it going today, sir?
Awesome. Really good to see you guys. And Cheech, happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Chad. Thank you. let's go from the start. How's Florida?
Florida's just now starting to get nice, right? I mean, here comes the heat. There wasn't any snowbirds this year because of the whole COVID thing, so it's been quiet. Our beaches are open, so that's what I was doing all day today. We're just hanging out in Boca Grande and sitting and having some vacation time.
Nice.
You just said a keyword for a Canadian: snow. I'm tired of that stuff. I'm tired of that. That stuff wrecked havoc. Especially, it got up to minus 50 degrees in Canada. Yeah, that for me, that's even no go. And I've lived here my whole life. That's no go territory.
Well, that's the problem. I can't be cold in my life anymore, so I'll always be in Florida.
Right on. So let's maybe
all these years of getting.
Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead.
All these years getting beat up and crashing and burning and stuff like that. Just the bones can't take any of the cold anymore.
Yeah, right. For me personally, it's pretty cool to have you on because my first year working at Monster Jam, I was with you, with Adam and Bruce and Cole, and crazy because it was the first 2 years, not just the first year with them, and then we had with Lindsay, with Lucas Oil, and then we had Matt, and then Scott too. So I'm still doing it right now, but still, I mean, it was pretty cool having, with you during this time and representing you in the truck also.
Yeah, we had some. I like to think we had really good teams, right, and really good friendships on there. And in those days, just was like the end time, really, of the new Feld way of doing it, where it's the show in a box, and then the tours go everywhere together, right? So you don't get to see a different set of drivers and crews every week. They went to the show traveling together, and it kind of took the spontaneity of seeing everybody in the hotel lobby and hanging out, going to dinner or something like that, and then you take off and go see a whole other set of crew and drivers. That was what really was Monster Jam back in those days.
So I'm going to kind of sit back a little bit in this interview. Cheech, you know more about Chad's kind of careers before Monster Jam. I kind of knew him, when I was watching the TNN days. So I'm going to kind of let you kind of take over this part of the interview, Cheech, and talk about the football and wrestling stuff.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to know that like I myself, I graduated from WVU, and I was a huge college football fan, and unlike other people, I knew Chad because of his time at the University of Louisville, and because I still at my house have it's his Frankfurt Galaxy football card. Because remember when I told you that I still have that card, and it's in my area. So it's kind of funny because I got Mario Lemieux's hockey card, and then I got Ben Roethlisberger's rookie card, and I got Chad Fortune's Galaxy card. So they're kind of some good group of people.
Yeah, you're right. But you got to hang out with me though.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, the other two I see from a distance, waving my hands, and about 25 other people are behind me, waving their hands, trying to get their attention. But
right.
But the cool thing is, so you did your time at the University of Louisville. You had a pretty good career. Then you did football. You did NFL for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I had skipped around a little bit. I mean, so going to the University of Louisville, right? So I wanted to get the heck out of Indiana. I was just an Indiana boy, right? Northwest Indiana, and I wanted to get as far away. I was recruited by Big Ten. I wanted to go like USC or UCLA, just get away from that and just see a whole new world. Howard Schnellenberger at the time before that, he won the national championship at the University of Miami. And then he came to recruit me because he had just gotten in Louisville, University of Louisville. Jay Gruden was his big quarterback recruit, which, his brother. So Jay was there, and then what Howard Schnellenberger did, he was a protege. This is Howard Schnellenberger backdrop is. He was with the 72 Dolphins, offensive coordinator with Don Shula and the 72 undefeated Dolphins. Before that, he was coached and was the offensive coordinator for Paul Bear Bryant and actually recruited Joe Namath. So having him in my living room, throwing me a Super Bowl ring and a national championship ring, to promise me that I'll play and I'll have one of these rings one day. So instantly I was a Louisville Cardinal. But what that did was, because it was a beginning program, and at the time I think Louisville was like, before we got there, it was like 13 worst programs by Playboy. Well, he beat the living tar out of us. For me, I got 5-year scholarship to play 4 years. I didn't redshirt, so I had to leave earlier. But my senior class, the class that went on, beat Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl with a big win there. So, and after that, so I went right in there, and I did go into the NFL, Indianapolis, Miami, Washington, Chicago, skipping around, met a lot of great guys, was, here and there, and then got some injuries, and then just rolled right into professional wrestling. My best friend out of college was Eric Watts, whose dad was Cowboy Bill Watts. When I was playing, football, and in between all that stuff, I'd go to Europe, NFL Europe, or the World League, and Frankfurt Galaxy, and I'd play 10 games over there. These were all the rookies. We were all rookies that were on NFL teams, didn't get the playing time, so we had to go and play 10 games in Europe, come back and go right into fall practice. And it was just, a lot of football, man. It just beat the living crap out of you. There was no downtime to kind of. So from there, that's when I got into the wrestling. And
so,
again, didn't know a lot about it.
I mean, wrestling-wise, what school did you go to for wrestling, and how did that transfer over?
Well, I went right into WCW, did a tryout, made it there, and went right into training. So I was trained by Ole Anderson, the Assassin, Terry Taylor. Geez, all kinds of people rolled in there. Dusty Rhodes, Blackjack Mulligan.
And a lot of those names are very legendary. Every single name that you mentioned, Ole Anderson, Terry Taylor, The American Dream, like that's like who's who that was training you. Was this before like the WCW power plant, or is this kind of at the beginning stages of that whole kind of thing?
It was just before it actually got organized. So it was, how would I say it? So I went through for a training. It wasn't an official. They did have some students there. Like the Giant was in there. Who else you would say? There were so many people going back and forth, but it was good. But it was strictly just doing moves and conditioning, taking bumps.
Oof.
And then later on, they started charging people to come in to be trained. And then we beat the hell out of the new guys just to kind of deter them that it wasn't, a fake and phony situation. And again, I was not. It wasn't called sports entertainment then either. These were the old school guys that, they would break legs to prove that it was real.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, especially with like a guy like Cowboy Bill Watts, that guy was no nonsense kind of guy. Doing some research back in the early history of WCW, that guy was no nonsense kind of dude.
No nonsense. And I'd go over to the house. So, because Eric was, my best friend. So we'd go in maybe for spring break or, in fall, whatever, and go hang out in Oklahoma at the ranch. And he was one badass, and telling the old stories about, those old days and, the rival properties out there trying to take over their territories.
So, after the training and whatnot, did they like in today's wrestling type deal? They get the call up.
Yeah.
Do you remember your call up, and how did that go for you mentally?
Well, here's what happened at WCW. So I was in there probably about 8 months, and we were doing small little house show stuff even around Atlanta, because it was in Atlanta. I lived there, and then we would do Universal Studios would be TV taping. Right around that same time, right in the middle of that, they hired Hulk Hogan. And paid him an ungodly amount. And with Hulk Hogan, then they brought all his crew in there too, right? All his people, Brutus, Barber Beefcake, and the Mouth of the South, and all these other guys would come in there that he would wrestle and put over and stuff like that. So the rookie or training guys just didn't get the time on TV. Eric asked me about, you want to go to WWF for a tryout? They're going to be in Macon. And so literally through the night, we went and drove to Macon, Georgia, while I was still under contract with WCW, and did a tryout at one of the house shows and blew it down. And they loved us and wanted to sign us right there. Well, I had already had a contract with WCW, and I had to go and talk to Eric Bischoff about, hey, you haven't put me on TV, you haven't, done anything with me. I just got to go. Well, he was so pissed off that I did that. He hated WWF at the time. WWF, now it's WWE, right? So hated him. And just decided that, no, you get your ass back to the power plant and I'll forget that this happened. And I'm like, really, that's it? And there's no other counter offer or anything like that. So I just up and left, broke the contract, and we were at WWF, which was great. I mean, but the gimmick, we flew us when Eric and I went there, they flew us into New York at Stamford, Connecticut, and we met with a department to kind of figure out what gimmicks we were, right? So we were college classmates, football mates. We tried out as a team, so they gave us the name Techno Team 2000, right? So it was their version of however it was supposed to be. They wanted to kind of do that to us because that's the story we heard about The Undertaker. We came up with The Undertaker because he literally was somebody that worked in a morgue, and it was a summer job, and that's how that whole thing started out. So they had backed us, and they had a lot of money. We were going to get these ninjas that were, all decked out in this futuristic type warrior stuff, and a big old budget with these uniforms and all kinds of stuff. But at that same time, they were going to go live. WCW had well, it was just around those times. So Nash and Hall were still there. And we were out on the road with them, and Road Dogg Jesse James and all those guys. The Ultimate Warrior came on for a couple months, and then WCW were trying to steal, and they did. They stole Hall and Nash, and around those times, and that's when the Monday Night Nitro going against Monday Night Raw, and Nitro was all live. And then they would tell the live crowd what was going to happen on the TV taping finish for WWF. So there's that war back and forth.
I remember that. I remember the night that Mick Foley won the WWF Championship, because that was a taped episode, they actually spoiled that. Tony Schiavone spoiled that on an episode of Nitro that night.
Yeah.
1 second, Cheech. I think your microphone's cracking or something. I think he's getting some feedback. So when you went to WWF from WCW, and guys like Hall, Nash, and them left, what was the atmosphere of like the whole thing surrounding the curtain call and like that whole just kind of crap storm that happened after that? Because wasn't Triple H supposed to win King of the Ring that year, but then his push kind of got derailed because of that?
Yeah, and again, I may be skipping around back and forth with some of the stories and stuff like that, but you're reminding me of things. So we were signed. We came in with Triple H. He was at WCW at the same time that we were at WCW. When I left and went to WWF, the next week, Triple H went in. I went to WWF for his tryout, and the idea for that was, hold on here. Might have lost you. Oh, can you see me?
I'm here. Okay. I'm here.
And the idea was to try and get new, fresh blood in WWF.
Yeah.
But the problem with that was you got paid by the house. That where you were on the card, where you were at the show, and then you would get a percentage of the house, which was about 2% of everything, merchandise and the house. So with us being new guys, even Triple H was getting a lot of heat for being a new guy coming in. It was taking away from the older guys that worked up and down the road and now still want to make their money. And then with the competition of WCW and their Nitro, that our budget got cut in half. We got kind of shoved aside, and we're doing more dark shows rather than being on TV. But you're right, that was such a battle that, and I do remember when Triple H was supposed to go out and win the belt.
That was like, because I got into wrestling a lot later in life. I think I got into it in the early 2000s. And I remember hearing about the curtain call and the kind of crap that happened after that. One question I have, because you were in that era, with Undertaker, and he's been doing this series on WWE Network, The Last Ride, and it's kind of showing more of him, Mark Calloway. What was he like backstage? Was he very intimidating, or was he, as everybody says, a locker room leader?
He was one of the boys, right? So he would literally have his own locker and come in on his own terms. He was one of the superstars that helped build. He was one of the guys that was still around now that people were starting to leave. He was going to anchor WWF. But he was an all business dude, right? So you don't mess with him. He's going to come out and do the gimmick. And when a lot of other people in the other locker rooms it was more lighthearted and it was a lot of fun. And then traveling up and down the roads with them. But yeah, Taker was all business all the way.
So we have a question. I'm not sure who sent it because it's through our podcast page. Might have been one of our other kind of buddies that helps us out. He has a question. What was it like working Goldberg? There is some dark match results before a Nitro where you had beaten him before the streak.
Yeah. Well, Bill and I were friends. We met in Japan playing in the Japan Bowl. And then he went on to Atlanta, and I was in Miami, and then we played each other in. I think he played for the Surge in one of the World Football League stuff, and I would mess with him a lot on the field because he had this bad temper, right? And he was a bull rusher, just a big old bull, and I would me and the other offensive lineman would just kind of mess with him, and try to get him all raged so he'd miss the count and come up late off the ball. And, he'd just be cussing us and all kinds of stuff. So um, after that, then he was going to do his deal at WCW. He got invited. He's from Atlanta anyway.
Yeah.
So he came into the power plant to train, and we'd already known each other. So I was really kind of helped training him. We'd go on road trips together to Universal, and we were roommates and that kind of stuff. So we have some history with that. So I worked with him a lot at the plant, and when it came time, Bill didn't have a lot of training, and he didn't have a whole lot of moves. And for lack of anybody really knowing what to do with them, they just told him, just go out there and smash these guys in about 2 minutes. And we were working on Bill's finishing moves and practicing on some of the guys down at the plant. And I think it was Arn Anderson was a booker at one of the house shows. And he goes, all right, Fortune, you're going over on Bill. And this was really before the streak or anybody knew anything about that.
Yeah.
And so we had our match, and I went over on him. He took my finish, and they counted out and all kinds of stuff. So later on down the road, when the streak started, I told him, I kept, jabbing. I go, you didn't beat everybody. Nobody want to count that dark match that we put in there. So I think out of like homage to me when he did write the book, that he kind of gave that little thing back to me, saying, the streak did include one loss.
So Cheech is back. Hopefully he got his audio kind of figured out. Cheech, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. There's no more cracking. Okay, there we go.
I don't know what. Sorry, I just actually moved, so all my stuff is packaged away until internet gets back and running. So sorry about that, guys. I have missed out. I guess I skipped all the rest of the story. So last thing I heard was about Goldberg, and then I had to fix the situation. But I guess have we talked about the transition from wrestling to working about to get behind the wheel of a monster truck?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
So what was the transition like for you? Because when you got to start driving a monster truck, you didn't have Monster Jam University or anything like that. So that was a whole new process for you to start with, right?
Yeah, and let me just tell you about that. So it was just like a crazy ride. So from WWF, I went back to WCW. I did start training people down at the power plant and trying to stay off the road a little bit more, and was doing some of the pay-per-view commercials. When, if it was Survivor Series, I'd be the guy on the horse dressed as a knight and, jab in the rock, or Road Wild, I'd be riding on the Harleys and do the stuff like that too. So I was all over the stuff and getting involved with the marketing side of it. Mike Weber, who is affiliated with Fight TV, I worked with him a lot. In fact, when we did the NASCAR team or the Busch Series team, and WCW had their team, we were part of the pit crew. So I was out, carrying tires in the middle of, out of traffic there at Talladega and Daytona and all kinds of stuff. So where am I going? So it was there when WCW was starting to fold. Ted Turner was trying to get out of this whole thing. It was losing some money, and they were trying to sell it. Weber had already left and went to Pace Motorsports, which is the beginning stages of the monster trucks and Monster Jam and that kind of thing. And he called me out of the blue one day and said, "Do you want to drive a monster truck?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what you're talking about. I only knew Bigfoot back in the old, take this job and shove it situation." And he goes, "Well, come to Minneapolis." I was living in Atlanta at the time, and he said, "We'll fly you to Minneapolis, and you can check it out." And I go, "Okay, well, I'll just go there. So I go to Minneapolis. I'm down on the floor. Mike Wales walked me around. I sat in Tom Mentz's truck because it was really the only one that I could even sit in. And that was Patrol, right? Monster Patrol.
Yeah.
What year would this been?
99.
Yeah, it could have been
He
early.
was doing a wing walk then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay. So I went there, and Todd Frolick was driving Gravedigger, and I remember being on the sidelines, and they were doing freestyle, and Todd Frolick was in there, and in Minneapolis they do the big demolition derbies, right? Well, he got off course somewhere, and there was some demolition cars up there, and went in there and started hitting the demo cars. Well, I do remember the drivers of the demolition derby guys were so pissed off because they had like high dollar motors in these old crappy cars because it was kind of an industry to them, right? It's money operating. And I just like, what in the hell am I getting myself into with all this stuff? And but I had a blast. And then right after that, they go, okay, well, we want to send you to North Carolina to drive Gravedigger and see, what your thoughts are, how you doing, how you like it. And at the time, I don't think that I was interested, but I thought to myself, I go, there'd probably be a lot of people that would pay some money to drive, Gravedigger. So they're offering me to do this. I might as well go for the experience for sure. So I also, so they flew us, and I say us because I brought my tag team partner in too, because he helped me get into wrestling. And I thought, well, I'll help him get into this if he was interested too. So we went into North Carolina. Dennis was there. You had all his crew in the little Kwanzaa huts, and they're pulling Gravedigger 8, I think it is, out, and they're pulling the bodies off, and they're ripping out an old seat and welding and sparks flying and having me sit in this. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And they go, well, we have to pull the body off. So when you roll this, that, you don't, destroy our $7,000 body. I'm like, well, what the hell do you think is getting ready to happen here? We're just going to go driving around, right? And they just start laughing. I'm like, oh, hell, okay. So a lot of prep trying to get a seat that would fit. And again, these are the old school Beard seats. In fact, you know what? I may have a picture. I was looking through something all this last week, but they had the Beard seats. Yeah, maybe you can see this. Coil-over shocks. And I had my WCW fire suit for when I was, doing the NASCAR. So here's a picture of me standing on. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Oh, wow.
So that's the first day. That's the first day. So you see, I don't even know if you can see the Beard seat.
Oh, wow.
Coil-over shock. They gave me a neck roll, like a 2-inch neck roll that, didn't even fit. And it was before any kind of Hans devices. And so I'm getting strapped into this thing. Meanwhile, Dennis is out in the bean field, clearing the bean field for this whole operation. I don't know. I think they thought we were a pretty big deal or something like that. And he's building these jumps. And, I'm laughing and stuff like this. I'm just like, it's just crazy. And we strap in and, Whale giving us the whole, this is how you start, this is what we want to do. And then Dennis comes in there. And Dennis, I think, wasn't so keen on the idea. This was his world. This is his sport. He owned everything. So he was going to put us through some ropes. So he built these big old jumps. In fact, I think I have a picture of that too. And really, he was really a great teacher too. So he would, make us go and do some runs, do some figure eights, do some hot laps, without hitting the the ramp, and it was just kind of crazy. The horsepower that I felt during that time, and not being able to really move because you're strapped in so tight. Of course, every lap that I did, the neck collar would bounce so much that it'd fall right off. So I had one of these long noodle necks anyway.
So hey, Chad, did you
Yeah.
ever have the thing that a lot of these drivers had, where they said like, "Man, I'm going so fast," and you watch the video and you're like, "Nah, you're not going fast," or "Man, I got some huge air," and it's like you didn't even go 2 feet off the ground, or something. Did you when you first jumped? Was that your mentality also, or did you get that bug also?
All right, so let's just put it like this. This was my first jump. This is Dennis Anderson, and I don't know if you can see him. All right, so
Oh,
is he? This is Dennis right there.
Oh wow.
And
wow.
so what he did, and he lined me up probably 20 feet back, and he said, "When I drop my hand, you floor it." And I'm telling you, and I was never so scared in my life because I didn't know what was getting ready to happen. So I did exactly what he did, and I floored that sucker, and it shot me so high, and this was on the way down. And it's like suspended animation. So it feels cool as shit, right? You see sky, and then you start to come down. And then again, and then it just bounced. I mean, it hit, and it bounced, and it jacked me up a little bit. But my adrenaline was so freaking high that it was just like the coolest feeling I ever had. And of course, I have no neck collar, and you hit with the beer seats, and your belts come loose. So that was but I do know what you're talking about. You get into some of the arenas and you think like you're getting air, and you're really not.
So
But this weekend, this was my first weekend and this was February in North Carolina, and my neck, I couldn't even move my neck, and my back was so sore. Our hotel was on the beach that weekend, and I was in the ocean letting the waves hit me because I was so beat up, and I would literally hold my head up when we were at dinner, go like this, and just pounding down beers.
So, from that moment, testing and Digger, how did you transition to the NWO spokesman? Because that kind of was my first introduction to you. And I remember one specific thing. No one knew your name until one specific moment happened with the late, great Steve Burns. He actually said, he actually was like, he said your name. I'm just like, wait a second, what? Cause, and Steve Burns was a very incredible broadcaster, but he was, I think, taking over for Dan Moriarty for a bit at that time.
Yeah. Well, that all happened as I was hired that day. We were hired, and by the way, there was only one other time, and it was in 2015. That was my last practice that I've ever had, which was my tryout. To actually hit a jump without having any crowd around. And in 2015, I was able to go to Paxton and do a couple laps and do some shock testing, which I'd never gotten a chance to even do that unless it was in the middle of a show somewhere. And the idea is because it's so expensive back in the days to run this thing, and if you're going to blow up a motor or wreck the body or wreck the truck, you might as well be in front of people. And I'll go back into those things. But the reason why I went from there to the NWO spokesperson was because they didn't have a truck that would fit me. They started building this truck, which was, there was going to be two of them. One was the Sting truck, which was the Vet King, or was going to be the Corvette, right? And they had a really low cage. Another truck was going to be the Bret the Hitman Hart truck, and that's what they built for me.
Oh.
And then when it was finished, we went to go test it at the Hampton Coliseum again, our first show. And in fact, it was Jill Sunoco was there too. She was going to drive the Nitro machine. But before I'm driving the truck for the first time into the arena, and my head is sticking out of the cage. So at that moment, Jill Sunoco got my truck, and I started driving the Nitro machine.
And actually, there's a really fun fact. Me being a now fan mode here, I saw you in 2000 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I remember they did this intermission type deal. You were driving Nitro Machine, and I think you won racing that Friday night. But they did some deal where a fan could sit next to you, and you just drove around the arena for a little bit for a Napa fan experience. I don't know if you remember doing that for a while, but it was around, I think, like 2000 or 2001 that you were driving that Nitro Machine truck. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So again, with all the transition of coming in and them not having a truck ready for me, in the process of me waiting for the truck to be built in the interim, because they were paying me, I would now be the spokesperson to the NWO with Rob Nell driving, and then I'd be the guy on TV, which is really why I was hired, was to kind of add more of the entertainment part into monster trucks. Not being goofy. In fact, I didn't want to cause any heat with anybody, but they were really kind of wanting me to go pretty crazy with the NWO, and I just did whatever they wanted to, which I had fun with. And but I didn't know that I was dealing with a lot of racers, hardcore racers, and a lot of heat was going to be coming back. But that was me doing the NWO truck spokesman, was me waiting on the truck to be built.
Okay. Did you have a lot of fun doing that? Were you able to, like, because you were cutting promos, so like a lot of the stuff that you learned in WCW and WWF kind of came back to kind of help you in that time?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm a big believer of the entertainment part of even in monster trucks. There's so much that these trucks can do, and there's downtime even back then when there was downtime and breakage, and you run these trucks and you can race these trucks, but we do have to incorporate the fans in an interaction. And also what I did later on with the Superman truck and Captain America and stuff. All of these things were it was a hell of a good time. And what I learned even from wrestling, when I was playing football, mind you, I was just hardcore. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to play. And I couldn't show that I was hurting in any way, because you're just badass and you're just out there to kill people, really. When I got to wrestling, I was taught by the best, of course, Dusty Rhodes and Ole Anderson, who was part of the Four Horsemen, and they were all badasses. But they did mess with the crowds, and they incorporated them and showing emotion and getting the emotion out of the crowds, and that's hugely addictive. But you can really kind of milk or make the moves mean more when you're just kind of incorporating and using the emotion of the crowd. So to incorporate that in the Monster Jam, of course, the hardcore racers didn't think it was great fun or anything, but the fans had a blast with it, and I had a blast with fans. We'd go out to Anaheim. I'd go out to the beach, and I'd just interview people and just have a blast time with them. Me being kind of the mark, right? That I'd get them all riled up. They'd yell at me, I'd yell at them, and it would just be a blast. And then even what we saw on the TNT days, you got a lot of airtime, the filler of when, they're pulling trucks out or whatever, if there's breakage or a rollover in between somebody else's interviews. So it was a heck of a lot of fun.
So you go from that and to the transition to the Karl Malone power forward truck itself. Now, when you got that and they did the deal with Karl Malone, did you still get a little bit of Was it a slow transition from people calling, Chad Fortune and Power Forward, or there were still people nagging about you being the NWO sports spokesperson?
No. I mean, and the fans were good about that. So, no, I had to get a little bit more serious because now I was coming from athletic background. Carl was, serious about this. He was sponsoring the truck, and uh, it was kind of a deal. It was a brand new truck, and so I had to kind of represent a little bit more. The problem is that my experience level about the truck, and nobody else but me driving it because it was built for me. And Cheech, you can barely touch the pedals on mine, so nobody else drove it. Well,
I had to use a buck bag.
yeah, in stadiums, the front orbital and the shocks were so darn tight, it would rattle me, and the front orbital.
Orbital.
I would race into the corner, and just about almost every turn I would be rolling that sucker, just cartwheeling that sucker, and I couldn't even figure out until Brian Bartle tested it one time and said, "What the heck are you doing here? This is going to kill you," and started changing things up. But that was a good ride. He was a good dude to work for. But right after that is when the Superman gig came.
Yeah, I was about to say with the Superman gig, you kind of mixed both together as one complete package because now you're in the Superman truck. In wrestling, you have your character, but you are the driver, Chad Fortune. But when you get out of the truck, you have. I always see it at the end. You did the Superman pose and stuff like that, which you brought the character, aka the truck, to life. If you think about it. Right?
Yeah, and that was what was so much fun about it, and knowing that there was dead time in between trucks coming in and out of there. My whole deal was, and again, you have to understand is that this is a very expensive business, and I don't want to, expose anything or get any more heat, but Dennis was running the show or running was the train running the company basically, and all the merchandise. So he was the guy that could go out and do whatever he wanted to. Him and Tom, all of us others had to kind of make sure that we weren't, doing unnecessary rollovers, and I think we all just had like one T-shirt, but there was some strict kind of like saying, you go out there and have fun and do the best you can, but you better not mess up that truck. Cost us any money. So in order not to, I have to also do this too, is that we get, when you're trying to improve and trying to get better, there was 60-second freestyles, and then of course you go through rounds of racing. You may have 3 minutes most in that truck. And again, because you're in front of people, there's not a whole lot of experiments. So I got 3 minutes a week, for whatever, 15 events a year. You don't get a whole lot of time to get a whole bunch of experience because we never got to practice when you were running that truck. So as long as I ended up on the biggest pile of crap and I can get out and stand on that hood and do Superman pose, and here the crowd would just go crazy. And then of course the camera follow you all the way back to the back while they're dragging the crap out and then sending the next rider out. So again, that was fun, but it was also trying to stay in a job, get some value and make the most out of my 3 minutes a week.
So, like, one thing that I will say, when you were driving Superman is you lived that truck. You lived the identity of that truck. You had like the haircut and like the glasses. Like
Yeah.
Like the wrestling side kind of helped you in that too. Kind of like living the gimmick, basically.
Yeah.
And that's like one thing that in any truck that you've driven, that's one thing that has always been one thing that I've always loved about you and like your style is you would live the truck. You would live the gimmick.
Yeah, and I felt like I had to. I felt like I owed it. And what I did learn from wrestling in that aspect, and let me just tell you this, is that standing out there on top of a truck in the middle of 60,000 people, it doesn't feel all that great when, they don't know, people don't know what the heck you're doing. It's almost like, here I am, but to own it and feel it and snap into it, and then the crowd gets into it, and then that's what they expect. They don't. I don't know if they're going to be looking at some great freestyle from me, but they'll stay in their seat to watch the pose, and that's what I learned. And then, of course, sitting in the autograph lines, and even from the front office, you're not Superman. You're driving this Superman race truck. And I go, well, you go tell the 5-year-olds that are running up to me and calling me Superman. And wanting pictures and wanting to pose and stuff like that. So, and feedback from families, this was a family sport, and getting feedback from them. And I still get pictures from the kids who are now grown up, sending me pictures of them when they were little, doing the pose with me. And that's what really means it's an impact. I mean, I don't know if there's, anybody out there 19 years ago that are talking about whatever super freestyle, but sometimes I'm still getting these pictures of little kids and doing the pose.
I always thought that was pretty cool, and then you also transitioned to Captain America with that, but you still carry on with Captain America to the point of where in 2015 you debuted Soldier Fortune, and that truck. I as a fan, I personally liked, and because of how you wanted to honor the military troops, even the EMTs, anyone that has done in the United States or even outside their services for this great country, you honored them. And now that truck has a secondary truck, Black Ops, and did you see how fast that truck became popular?
Yes, and it was all designed that way. The whole thing about Soldier Fortune came when, of course, Superman was a DC Comics sponsored truck. When that went away because Marvel came out with the Captain America, and I just wanted to represent that just like I would have anywhere else, and that was a lot of fun. When Marvel was getting ready to pull out, I knew it was coming. And I knew that there was going to be something that was going to replace it. So I thought that I better get on the ball about this, and I knew that on the pipeline there was an idea for a military type truck. Well, right away I went in with a proposal. In my WCW, at the last part of my WCW days, I had a gimmick called Soldier of Fortune, the Unknown Soldier of Fortune. Skinhead, camo pants, badass, almost like a skinhead, but the opposite, where I'm an ally of the oppressed. So I came in with Charlie and everybody there and said, why don't we call it Soldier of Fortune? That it'll be, and it's the whole storyline. And this is what we don't do enough of in any of these trucks, is we have all these cool trucks out there, but they're just cool trucks with a name. There's not a story that goes along with it. So the whole thing with the Soldier Fortune truck was that it was to honor the military, not one specific branch. I played the characters of heroes, Superman and Captain America, but this was to honor the real heroes, the men and women who fight for our country to keep us safe, and the families who sacrifice so much for us all so that we can play Monster Jam. And it was really important. And, at the World Finals, they do the call. This is home base, and the call to come, and the veterans come and sit and drink waters with us and hang out. That was like the big tent. But it was something that I could yell out to I know the veterans are here. They're walking around with plain clothes. I just want you to know that I see you, I honor you, and this is for you.
I think that was a cool transition, and like you were saying, you were kind of driving the trucks of like heroes, but being able to honor those true heroes, the men and women, and I'm not from the States, but I'm from Canada, and I love our military here in Canada, and it's being able to honor those that fight for our protection and fight for our freedoms. It's that's one thing that I loved about that. And and were you also involved in bringing Tony Oakes in and to the Black Ops name as well?
Well, yeah. Well, because Soldier Fortune was doing so well, and it was a big hit. Of course, Black Ops was just a natural next step for the next truck. And in fact, there was going to be another one, a desert type truck, also that was going up next. But I think budgeting and some other gimmick trucks came on. Tony came from I think it was
Marvel
Nuclear
Universe.
Cowboys. Huh?
I thought he came from Marvel Universe as a motorcycle
Yeah, maybe that's
mechanic.
what it was. He was a motorcycle mechanic for Marvel Universe. And we heard that he had a military background. So we brought him in there and tested him out to drive Black Ops. So it was really kind of a good fit. And I've talked to Tony, try to talk to him a little bit more about you have to go out there to represent. I mean, this is not Tony, or this is really not any of us driving these trucks. We get to do these trucks. But we do owe, to honor our military, the fans that come and spend money to come see us so that we can do all this. I say to all drivers is that, love on those fans. And this is what Dennis did. This is how we got to where we were because Dennis, he honored these fans and stay and love on them all the time. But yeah, Tony has for me, he has a special, he's got to go out there and represent the military and honor them. And he's doing a really good job at it. And even Kayla's doing a great job too.
So we have some questions here from some of our guests. You might know from this one, Mr. Ken Nowitzki. You might know Kenny.
Yeah.
His question is, what was the difference between football, wrestling, and driving? Which beat you up the most?
Okay, Ken. Well, I think we did talk about this sometimes in the hotel lobby. So I get that question a lot. So football is really it's one-on-one competition. It's head-to-head, mano against mano, and who's going to win the battle so that we can get over there. And it's competition. Wrestling is like freestyle. It's a time you get 60 seconds or a minute and a half to show off, and it's a popularity contest. So, of course, everybody thinks, and it is. I mean, doing the best tricks and going crazy and near misses, almost complete wrecks. Now people just wreck and like that's talent or something. But really trying to make it a good freestyle. So what Monster Trucks is, in my eyes, it's the best of both of those worlds. We race head to head, and it's almost sickening about the competition that people want to win when they're racing. Freestyle is everybody trying to figure out how to show off enough to get the points from the crowd. So it really is interesting about the stages of my career going from football to wrestling to Monster Trucks. That it was really great. And what I am afraid of is I'm afraid of the show off part, because we go from one train wreck crash right into the next train wreck crash, and there's not enough time for the crowd to even wonder if you're okay. We do work on emotion over here, and we want the crowd to be able to know who that person is driving instead of some robot. But that's really what the difference is. And of course, football was young and dumb, and felt like I could lift a school bus, and pretty much could. I was sore all the time. Monster Trucks, I'm telling you, with the beard seats, the only a neck collar, before the Hans devices. I've never been so even when we did the nitrogen shocks, you had to adjust it usually before or after the show with just one screw. You couldn't do the quick knob turns anymore. When they came up with that $10, $5 knob, the world changed. It changed again when they put in the aluminum seats, and it wasn't this double ricochet spike that you would get with the Beard seats. And of course the Hans devices, and we never even trusted the Hans devices. Charlie Falcon and I would still wear the Hans device and turn the neck collar around and have it as a little extra because we didn't trust that it was going to do the job.
Now, hey Brad, before you ask another question, another question personally was, with you doing the monster trucks, did you with wrestling and football, did you do any like core training or any training for the abuse in a monster truck compared to like wrestling and football?
Yes, I knew that there was no way to train to drive a monster truck. And it got to where we were doing, freestyles for the 2-minute freestyles and stuff like that. So I would train and run and kind of work out, not to the extent that I really wanted to, because we were always traveling, we were always doing something, late nights trying to fix the trucks and get to the next, or 5-show weekends, all that kind of stuff. So I did want to make sure that I was doing more because that truck is like being in a boxing match some of these times. I think I heard Cody. I watched the interview that you guys did with Cody, and one of the questions is about nowadays they have the standardized tracks, freestyle. Back in those days, those early days, we'd walk into a show and not know what in the hell we were going to hit, and look at these ramps and going, what is that? And even Dennis, who's been doing it forever, would go, well, how are you going to hit that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was going to ask you that. He goes, I've never ever seen this before. And it was like, you're out there just trying to figure out and pray that you aren't like first or second, so that at least you could figure out what in the world the track was going to do, right? Or how this jump was going to hit. So having more of a standard truck and letting the driver pick, how he wants to hit it, where he's going to hit it, and an expectation of how it's going to land you is really a great thing. That's why you're getting the freestyles you get now.
Another question from our buddy Josh Dig Rhodes. His question is, which paint scheme was your favorite on Power Forward? Black and purple or the basketball skin truck?
Well, I like the black and purple, and here's how the basketball skin truck came about. I was in Las Vegas, and because there was always a 2-week deal in between there, so I'd go to Las Vegas early to do PR, and hang out. And in fact, I think I went to SEMA at one time, and I met the guy who was doing the wraps, the plastic wraps or the vinyl wraps, and showed a concept. Mike Wales happened to be there, and we had talked to this guy. And he goes, "Yeah, I can make this whole skin look like a basketball." I'm like, wow, that would look pretty cool. And so we had Jay Laws back at the office do a rendering, and we gave it to this guy, and then he was going to wrap it for us. Well, the problem is that he took the pixels too far out, where it just looked like a big giant pizza, like pepperoni pizza, and it looked horrible for me. I guess it didn't look that bad when it was out on the field. You guys have to be the judge of that, but that's how that came about. It was a cool concept, but the wrap didn't come out the way the guy said it was going to, and I just felt like it just looks like a just giant pepperoni pizza.
See, as a graphic designer here, and then I'm just like, oh no, just no.
I know. It was quite disappointing at first, but seeing pictures of it, and I think even the Hot Wheels truck, it doesn't look so bad. It is what it is, but that's the story behind that.
Another question we got is from Cameron Miguez from the Monster Cast. Shout out to those guys. Those guys do awesome stuff. He asked, how much do you miss doing the World Finals?
The World Finals it was great and also horrible. Man, they would abuse us for that whole week. Man, so much stuff going on, from pictures to waiting and doing practices and autograph sessions and all kinds of stuff. It was so hot. The whole experience was ultimately fantastic. Being able to be with the fans as it grew more and more and adding more trucks, the pressure grew. I mean, I think at first we were all just trying to get through it all and have a good time, and it was. I mean, again, it was everybody being back together again. We'd be in the casinos and partying up and just hanging out, and then dealing with what we had to deal with, with the autograph sessions, and of course the fans that would come from all over the place. That was always great. But I mean, we would have 5-hour pit parties, and maybe 30 minutes to an hour of break, and then you're back out in that heat. The early days, I mean, you literally just sat in this chair and waited for somebody to help bring you some water, and then he'd drag you, in the back, and you get your truck ready to do the parade lap and stuff like that. But it was tough, but I do miss it. It was an experience, and to be able to do as many as I did, I don't even know if I can count them, but I was at almost all. I think I was at all of them. I performed in like 16 or 17 of them.
Now we talk about the World Finals, and I thought the one when the first year of Soldier Fortune, the 2015 one, it seemed like during the pit party, they pulled all the strings for you guys. You had the watering get together, and I think you were the only truck that also got towed, but you didn't get towed by any trailer. It was a legit military grade, I think, Oshkosh 8-wheel puller with a trailer that was a mile long. And I remember Moose just starting up the truck and revving it up, but didn't move anywhere, and you were on the very top of it. But how was that experience for you for that World Finals?
Yeah, well, we did it for every year that Soldier Fortune went. So that was the first year, but that was all by design. I mean, again, you were going to get the greatest freestyle out of me, but you were going to get a production, and the military was going to get their honorings. So Shelby Curtis, I wanted to get on her and say, you're out there for so long, let's find some military vehicles. We had a World War II military veteran sitting there with us. I wanted to have the Wounded Warriors in and sit there. I mean, again, trying to make it as much about them than it was about me, and having their time to sign autographs. Veterans come in and sit with us with, bottles of water to cool down underneath the camo tents, and every vehicle that we could find in that area to make it an experience and an honoring. So when it came time for the parade, to be drugged down, on top of this military vehicle with Soldier Fortune on there, really makes me proud. And of course, our HR department and the safety team said, no, you can't stand up. You can't stand up on there. It's safe. You got to sit down and do whatever. And I just waved to him. I go, okay, fine. But once I hit that road, I stood up and I posed and I pointed and I did whatever I had to, because that's what you do. When it comes to representing and honoring the people that matter, I'll fall off that sucker if I have to, but I want them to know that this is something.
Before you say anything, Brad, I have to say one thing. That body that Chad had on Soldier of Fortune is probably the most sturdiest monster truck body I ever stand on. You can stand anywhere on that truck, and the material that they used was a stronger fiberglass, and they used a lot of like the Hercules bedliner material on it. I liked it because you can climb on the hood and clean the windshield, which the windshield was, opened up. But everything on that truck, if you had like cleaning wise, before a pit party, you can climb on the truck and clean up every single detail of the truck. That body was sturdy. That was a strong body.
And it fit. I mean, bedsides, everything fit so seamlessly. I mean, like it really should. I mean, the other trucks, I mean, for years, it was just kind of maybe they would come together and you'd be drilling holes to try and make it look like a real truck.
Yeah. So another question we have, let me just scroll it back up here, was from Chris Mermanis. He says, I have the Hitman fire suit for your truck that you were going to drive. How close did that truck come to be? Was a body made, or did it never get past the suit and concept art?
No, the body never got made. I think it was supposed to, I actually, when I was looking around, I have the concept, the original drawings of what it was supposed to look like. They told me that it was going to be like a Jaguar type body. And yeah, so if you have it, yes, I wore that once, and I think we end up giving it to Brett. But this is the original artwork for it.
Oh, wow.
That's another mine. Huh?
I was going to say, that's just so cool, because he's from Calgary and, representing Alberta proud. So that's like so cool to me.
Yeah, but it didn't. But we did build, there was a t-shirt made, and there was a fire suit made, which I think I saw a picture of that. One of my other buddies sent me, they must be friends. And I go, where in the world did you see that? Because I wore that. And I don't know. I thought maybe we gave it to Brett. And then I just never knew what happened to it.
Okay. It's time for the typical Crush This questions. So some of these questions have been around since day one. So the first question comes from this question's been around from close to 5 years ago now. And as Cheech brings up the High Octane coffee bag, go check Joey Sylvester out in High Octane Coffee. Got to get that plug in there. So, Mr. Chad Fortune, what is your favorite kind of pie?
Boston cream pie.
Is that do we have Boston cream on the pie?
Nope, that's tied for third.
That's oh wow. Okay. See that question comes from our buddy Brandon Culpepper Sr. That one has been a staple ever since the original days of the podcast.
First and second is apple and pumpkin, and the rest, you name it, is tied for third, including Cole Bernard. He answered pizza pie.
Okay. So here's question number 2. Do you know Phil and Christian Norman at all?
Yes, of course I do. Yes.
Okay. This one pertains to them, and this one we had them on last week, and this has been going on for years between me, Cheech, and the Norman brothers. Okay. Are you a fan of eggnog, or do you despise this stuff?
I'm not a fan, and I don't hate it. I don't care about it. Does that make sense?
See,
I'll drink it. No. I'll take a taste of it, but I don't care.
Okay, so I'm gonna consider that a win for us then. Because me and Cheech cannot stand the stuff. We think it's the worst stuff in the world. It's gross.
It's the worst.
It's
the worst thing.
Another segment we have. There used to be the show years ago called Monster Truck Radio with Jeff Roller Richards, and we've kind of kept the tradition alive. Do you have any rental car stories that you could say?
Rental car, yeah. Tony Farrell was again, we were teamed up back in those days, and he was always one of those jokester guys. I'm driving down the highway, and he's pulling the emergency brakes, and all of a sudden we're just screeching down the highway. Or no matter what, if we go, pull into the parking lot, we're screeching into the parking lot. And just laughing and having a ball. So there was there was those one of the times that we would start getting in trouble. Not me personally, but all of us. We weren't allowed to have rent-a-cars anymore, or they were going to take them all away if we don't start taking care of them. Oh, here's one. We were in West Leb. George Ballhan. See, I'm losing my damn mind. Who did Twig crew for?
Damon Bradshaw?
Damon Bradshaw, and I think there was one other one. But we bought paintball guns.
Oh no.
And a couple things happened. Because we had some downtime in there, so we went and bought paintball guns. We each had them, and we'd sit in that little river, that lake, and shoot each other with them. Just for whatever reasons, I don't know. Then we do drive-bys. We got somebody, I think it was Scooby and some bunch of guys that after hours when they were pulled in to a gas station, we did a drive-by and just started tagging the things. And then it was, who's our announcer?
Ken Nowitzki?
No.
Joe Lowe, maybe?
No, not Joe. Joe was there, but was it Joe?
Scott Douglas, right? I thought Joe Lowe did West Leb.
I think it was it Joe? Maybe it was Joe Lowe. Anyways, we pulled in on Joe Lowe at West Leb, and we just tagged his car horribly, just all over the place. And I don't know who the event manager was, got pissed off and said we had to clean it off. And I don't think that we ever cleaned it off. Those are my rent-a-car stories.
Those are probably some of the best that we've had so far.
Oh my gosh, we laughed. It was especially the drive-bys. We could have probably gotten in really big trouble. The gas station was actually closed. They pull in and we come in there screeching and I wouldn't try that now.
Oh my goodness. So another one, which is kind of a newer thing. One of our good buddies, tech official Matt Looker, he was on a while back, and we
Cam Miguez. Sorry, Brad. Sorry about that. Cam Miguez said Greg Whitaker.
It might have been.
Well, it wasn't Greg, not there. I have a feeling it was Joe Lowe. I think it was Joe Lowe. It wasn't Greg though.
Okay, so
he was on the phone inside his rent-a-car, and we just nailed it.
Oh man, he probably just heard.
Can you imagine? There was 3 of us.
Oh man.
So when we
this segment we call Pucker Factor. A moment as you as a driver or watching a show that kind of made you pucker a little bit too hard. Have you ever had any kind of those moments in the truck?
Oh my gosh, when did it not? I mean, again, going into Jacksonville or Atlanta and seeing these ramps, especially the square, the fire trucks the fire trucks, or the square bread trucks that they'd have a ramp that would go halfway up, and that if you don't clear it, if you don't hit it enough and try to clear it, you're going to trip. And it was going to nail you straight. I mean, Neil Elliott in New Orleans hit a bread truck just like that. Hit it so hard it tripped, and he went lawn darted straight down and blew his chest out. Sat there for 3.5 hours and post-show autographs, and I think they took him to the hospital afterwards.
What would you say the New Orleans 2015 wreck could that be one of them too, when the whole undercarriage went out?
No, that was easy. That was just like, where's my ass? I'm dragging my ass, and the other part of it going the other direction. Yeah, it was all the old days, because again, what the things that they would bring out. Jumping the rock pile, the fountain in World Finals, which is just a rock pile and such an abrupt hit. Um, and then watching is mostly kind of watching. When you're in there, you're just fighting for your life, and you kind of have an idea, and you're just the adrenaline's kicking. But watching somebody go before you, World Finals. I don't know what World Finals when Frank Tremel was driving Donkey Kong, and he tried to clear one of the big jumps and clip the last car and cartwheel Donkey Kong. I'm going, holy shit, because I had planned to do that. And I remember going, well, I guess I'm not going to hit that. Not like that.
He was kind of the test dummy before you on that one. You're just like, yeah, nope, I'm not doing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, they all were. We all were just going, holy shit, you have a whole run. And then every time the one would go, somebody else would go, there'd be another little obstacle going, well, I guess I'm not going to do that. Let's see what else we're going to do.
Yeah, it always gotta have that moment and stuff like that. But for the fans in general, is there any social media people can follow you in or at?
I've had a Facebook forever. It's been mostly a fan stuff. I rarely on it. I'm doing a lot better now. Now that there is no trucks, and then when I stopped driving, I'm doing a lot better now, responding and going through all the old stories. The fans are loyal fans. They've been around for so long, and again, we see them at the World Finals or whatever event that we might be in, over and over again. And I just will always have gratitude. I mean, the flags that they would make for us, and all the little autographs. I've got my own file full of them all. I mean, I have, folders of, people making, special books and pictures of all kinds of things. So, but right now, I mean, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I may put out a website here shortly, but it's still in this concept stage.
So my last question for you, since you haven't been driving, what have you been up to, since, stepping out of the seat?
Okay, so I don't know if anybody really knew that. I think maybe Cheech does, but most people don't know that I worked in the office while I was still driving since really 2004. When we were going international, I took care of all the international transportation, logistics, PR stuff, and then I would be the driver driving in some of the events internationally. Then I became a director in the company. Again, still, as a dual role. And a lot of times I was working, at shows when I'm supposed to be driving and concentrating, looking at, the ramps and stuff like that. So we got to a point. So when my retirement 2 years came back, it was kind of like, wow, now I have my weekends. And I'm working full-time internationally, which internationally was growing so big. So really, right now, I'm kind of just chilling. I hate that we had to have this social distancing and, things that are going on. But it has been kind of a good little break of not having to go 24/7, 7 days a week, just about every day of the year. So that's nice. But what's next? Who knows? We can't wait to see.
It's I did a couple of international shows, and I remember everything had to be in perfect in line because of all the international, like all the countries and stuff like that, loading them into the shipping containers. Tires have to be this, jack, the truck itself. I remember Chad always telling me at the shop, "Where's such and such at?" I'm like, truck's like over there. Okay, and you just see him take pictures, and then he walks away and asks me again what other truck that's there, and I'm like, it's over there, and he says pictures, and then he comes over to me and says, this truck needs some changing, something to do some changing, and I was like, okay. Then he talks to Dustin, and then we have to change something for it to go into the container. I mean, I always thought, even though I thought maybe the driving the monster truck portion of the show for him was kind of his breathe of fresh air, because at the shop I always considered him like the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. He's always going. Because international, even though we maybe had like 10 shows during that year, it's an all-year deal, and it was still pretty crazy to do international stuff because of the paperwork and stuff like that. And it's a handful, I think.
Well, it certainly is a challenge. I mean, there's nothing in the world that's like a monster truck to drive one or to ship one, but everybody, it's a big American thing. And even in the shipping ports in other countries, everybody wants to know what in the hell is this. So in order to have, perfect paperwork, descriptions of what this is, it's not like a, Ford F-150. This is a monster truck, and now Customs wants to see it. And when you open up a truck like that, then you got to make sure there's no fuel and stuff like that. But, it's super cool to watch, people that don't experience it, experiencing it. And we were a manufacturer, so I had to produce certificates of origin. They each have a VIN number. And it's the coolest thing in the world.
Well, Chad, we don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you for coming on with us. We're hopefully going to have to do it again, and maybe add some couple of your old coworkers on here and just kind of have a round table and talk about the old times. Is there any?
Just to be honest, before you go, Brad, just to be honest, Chad, Frank Krimmel, Adam Anderson, and Scott Lidico was also supposed to be on here to surprise you. But Scott still had to work, and then Frank, I guess, is moving, and Adam's digging some stuff at the old digger shops. So they want to get back on and have you on too, and they just want to tell stories, just road stories, stories from the mid-2000s that all you guys been rocking out, and just a bunch of storytelling, just a little round table. They want to kind of do that. So if you're down,
there are so many things out there that at the time you don't think is nuts or crazy. It was just the way we were. This is the life we had. And this is what made, Monster Trucks, Monster Jam where it was, again, you know how you go in the hauler, but we would all meet up in different areas. The show in a box was boring. I mean, after 2 weekends, now you're sick of the people that you're traveling with. Not really, but to see new people every time, and then go and having dinner, and then we have drinks, and then everybody's telling jokes or hanging out, and there's so many cool stories with everybody from Lindsay to Dennis to Tom to Buddy. Adam turned 1 in Europe. Guess about that.
That'd be an insane story to hear. One last kind of fan thing. We have Joshua Yoho. He's asking you, when are you going to come to Venice so we can hang out and go to dinner?
I'm down the street from you, buddy. So whenever you want to. I mean, again, with this social distancing stuff, I haven't seen the guys in a while, and I'm 45 minutes away from Sarasota, Frank and all those guys. Josh, I mean, I'll be on the beach probably this weekend, so let's hook up.
Well, Chad, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have to definitely do that episode with Frank and Adam and Scott and you, and just listen to the stories you guys are going to tell. And, it's been an honor having you on. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. When Cheech told me that we were having you on, I was stoked. So thank you for the opportunity to come on, and, it's been awesome.
Well, and thank you too, guys. I mean, this is great that you guys put this thing together. It really is. I think I watched the one with you guys did with Cody the other day and Jeff. So I missed the one with the Norman brothers, which I used to talk to them all the time when they were in the shop. So I kind of missed that one. I'll check one of the others, the reruns. But this is a great thing you guys are doing, so keep it up, and yeah, ask me back, and I'll certainly do it. We got a lot of things to talk about.
Will do. Thank you for being on. This is pretty awesome, and we'll definitely have you back on. And man, if we have the rest of the guys on, me and Brad will just sit back and let you guys, talk for an hour or hour and a half, or we may just go to bed and you guys could just keep on talking and be the 24 hours of talking. I mean, it is what
Hold
it
on
is.
a second. So
Yeah, sure.
I don't think that Cheech. I don't think you're going to be exempt from this because you were part of this crew with Adam and me and Cole. And in fact, and I don't know any better on this. But did Cole give you Cheech, the name Cheech, or did you bring that along with you somewhere?
I brought that name with me that since I was in 5th grade. But
Okay.
you introduced me to the Japanese liquor, I think sake. I did not know about it until we were in Oakland, California, and I think across the street from the hotel where we were at, there was like a Japanese restaurant
Yeah.
and like a sushi bar, and you and Cole and Adam were talking about going to that place and drinking the Japanese liquor and stuff like that, and I was like, I'm Asian, but I don't know about that. You maybe try that. And it was hot. It wasn't cold. It was hot, and it's about a close second to wasabi.
Yeah.
It cleared me up pretty good. And
We did. Did we not do the sake bombs where we'd Ichi-ni-san and hit it and then do it? And
Yeah.
It fell in the...
Yeah, after you maybe take a shot of it, we did sake bombs. Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah, that
again,
was it. And then
more of those great
More of those
stories.
things.
But we would take over the whole restaurant and had the waitresses all screaming out Ichi-ni-san, and we'd hit the table. The shot of sake would fall into the beer, and then we'd do it. Everything was full of everything was wet. We're laughing. Cute little Cheech having to walk home.
You know what? I cannot wait to hear some of these stories of you, Adam, and Cheech, because this is gonna, because nobody really has stories of me except me falling over a hockey dasher the first time I staged trucks at a show in my hometown. So,
Well, I think even when Cheech was even my crew, I think he was lost most of the time. He was always standing on something. I never knew where he was. And then I think he'd always want to try and talk to me on the radio. I'm like, just shut up, Cheech. Just shut up.
Yeah, I found that out. Well, the other guys are like, oh, I want to know times, and I had Candace Jolly one time, so she wanted to talk to me, and I tried to be quiet and stuff like that, and then I'm like, okay, Chad, shut the F up! I'm like, all right, okay, that's fine, and we go ahead and go, and then there was one time we were in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and I was with Woos that summer, and I think his dad was in an accident, not like a car accident, but like accident with the trailer. He slipped and fell and hurt, and they were going around. They were looking for someone the crew for Chad, and I was just doing my thing, and a couple guys are, I'll do it, and Keith Speller came over to me and says, hey, I need you to crew for Chad. I was like, okay, well, that's Keith Speller. I can't say I can't do it. I mean, I guess I could, but in that certain situation, I always think in my head, okay, step up. After I said yes, I thought to myself, how am I going to drive that truck? Because Chad's like 6'6", I think.
Yeah.
I'm 5'5", so if you do the math, there's a gap between me and him in that truck. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll go to the pit party. He's signing autographs. I went inside the cab, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have pillows and stuff like that. So I went ahead and packed a moving blanket. He was cool enough. Back in when I first started, they kind of give like drivers OGO gifts and stuff like that. And Chad had an extra Lucas Oil red bag, and he gave me that. So thank you again. I still have that bag, by the way.
Sure.
So I stuffed that with a traveling blanket. I put it behind my back, and I start walking. And I put it in the back of the truck. Well, people higher ups, Dustin Brown, and all the people thought I just straight quit. They thought I was done. I was getting on the first bus back to Florida, and not later they know that I put the book bag in the truck. It scooted me up. I fired it, and I drove it. And people were like wondering, how the hell is that boy driving that truck? Because I'm all the way up to the front of because his seat was like a lazy boy, and I felt like, I could have felt like if I sat traditional in that truck, you wouldn't have seen me at all. And trying to figure out how I'm driving this thing. But I was driving the thing to the parking lot, and I got it done. We had a good show there, and then found out later that Tommy still was hurt, so I continued on and helped him out. It was a good learning experience, but for me, the following year, I went ahead and became a third guy for the team just to learn more about the truck and stuff like that. And that season was a fun season too. Chad's crew chief lost his eyebrows because he was dealing with Mike Wine, and that I think that was also we all hung out. It was a pretty cool year too. It was the second year of the FS1 tour and the stadium tour, and we did a bunch of the live videos and stuff like that. It was a learning experience because we did like 3 or 4 engine changes, 2 transmission changes. And then we also did a monster truck show in Florida, and it was 33 degrees outside. Remember that, Chad, in Orlando? It was snowing. It was near snowing temperatures, and we did a show in there. But
you guys don't know cold at all.
Well, it was in Florida. It's not supposed to be like that in Florida. It's supposed to be like 70, not 33. So, I mean, there's a lot of stories to tell, like in Reno, Adam ruined my can of Pringles. He told me not to. My can of Pringles.
I'm just happy to finally. I'm finally happy to hear the story of the backpack.
Bruce getting beat up by Cole with one leg. I remember we were in Vancouver and Cole and Woos were trying to arm wrestle. And Woos kept on getting beat by Cole with arm wrestling and stuff like that. It was, I like Reno when we terrorized Frank Kermel's room. That was pretty funny. That's another story to tell. But that was pretty much it. When I crewed with Chad, was mostly, hey Chad, shut up. All right, bye.
But just before we officially end it, I just want to say I've seen the backpack. I saw that in Calgary the first time I met Cheech. I saw it in action. And I was dying. I see him coming out of the trailer with this giant-ass bag. I'm just like, what's going to happen? Because he was, Lindsay Wink was driving Barry's Zombie at that show. Yeah. And I just see Cheech coming out with the book bag, sitting in the truck, and you see little Cheech just driving.
Yeah. It was like a custom piece. It was like, he's going to drive a truck, he's got to have his backpack.
Yeah. But some people think that the backpack. I have a backpack right now, sitting in a regular chair. No, because I don't have a backpack. But I still wear it. I still wear it when I climb in those Ram trucks. I have to put a backpack on to, sit in the seats just to see down. I think the only seat that I could probably sit comfortably is probably Don Creedon's.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, so just before we end, we like to always. We'd always like to give a huge thank you to our supporters, High Octane Coffee and Joey Sylvester. Big announcement today with him with the Outlaw Monster Truck Drags. Got J Concepts, Back Channel Productions, 6B Apparel, Marty Garza with the book Monster Truck Technology, and our newest one, JB Scale Graphics, the only graphic supplier that is licensed for Bigfoot, Raminator, and Bad Habits. Again, Chad, thank you for so much of your time tonight. It's been a blast. We're definitely going to have to do it again with all those other guys and just kind of have a shoot the shit session. So, again, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thanks again. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
All right, everybody.
And also, Brad, later on, probably tomorrow, I'll release our next, next week is going to be back-to-back on Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to have those live events next week, but we are going to do an audio session with Deal Wilson and the Virginia Giant for another Kick It Old School edition, and we'll do audio of that one. But for next week, I will release the next guest tomorrow.
All right,
Yeah,
everybody.
I have one more. I have another suggestion too, if you guys are interested too. That I'm
Yeah.
real good friends with Jay Laws and Neil Vandenberg, who designed all of the Monster Jam trucks, pretty much, and stuff
I'd
like that.
be interested in that one.
That'd be
Like,
cool. That'd be
I
awesome.
oh wow, because I do graphic
Yeah.
design. I designed the Bigfoot Bad Boy 3, the black with the hot rod flames, and I also did Lindsay Ratu's Pretty Wicked. That was basically
awesome.
that was mine as well. So I'd be down for that one fully because that's like big, like wow, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm down for that.
There's some cool stories about that too, and designing the yearbooks and things like that. So I was just talking to him. I think I told him this weekend because I was there with them this past week that I was going on their show, and I go, "Oh, maybe you guys ought to be on there too because they were Monster Jam. They designed all the posters, these posters here from World Finals, and
I'm
all
game.
the trucks."
I'm 110%
Yeah, I'm
game on
game
this one.
too. Yeah, whatever we could do to get them on and have a good session, then totally. I mean, if we can
Okay.
get them to hear stories about how they created some of the best known trucks in the world, and some of the best souvenir books, and some of the posters that people are having hanging on the wall, that'd be totally awesome.
Maybe I could have them critique some of my work. That'd be actually really cool.
That's right.
And then it's gonna be Crush This with just Dan Agosh.
Yeah, you got to share the spotlight, Chief.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Like Cheech said, we're going to be releasing who's going to be coming on next week. Again, thank you, Chad. For Dan, Cheech, Agosh, my name is Brad, the Monster Truck Canucker Shaw, and this has been Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast Live. Keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Peace. And broadcast.